So now you have determined your theme. Remember, mine was about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Whatever you have at this point in this box right here is your theme. Remember, you picked a big topic. Out of all the big topics that you collected page numbers for, the strongest one, you wrote an author's statement, what you think the author's statement would be about that topic, and then you whittled it down to make it an assertive statement, some sort of truth about life or the human experience, which would be your theme. Okay, so now that you have that, we need to work on how we are going to collect evidence back from those little breadcrumbs that you dropped up here. What I mean by that was a allusion to Hansel and Gretel. If you're familiar with that, they drop breadcrumbs to try to find their way back. So what you did, and this is a link here to bookmark you back up there, but it says in the table below, type out either quotes or paraphrases from the text that support the theme that you wrote above, which is right here. You should have tracked page numbers as you read of where occurrences of the big topic that inspired your theme happened and recorded them. So if I click on this, it's going to pop me back up here to show me what I'm talking about. And it's talking about this part of this table. So I wrote mine about teamwork. So these are the page numbers I'm interested in. So you might be like, man, I wrote down all these page numbers for these other topics and I'm not even going to use them. That's kind of how it is. When you collect evidence for anything, if it be for a research paper where you're reading and studying nonfiction texts, or in this case, a piece of literature, you're always going to cast a wide net. You're going to collect more than you're ultimately going to use. Okay, that's just how it works. It's not a big deal. So the teamwork page numbers is where I would go back. And I'm not obviously going to have to reread a lot of things. I'm just going to go back to, say, page 27 and see what's there. Oh, this was the quote I had in mind. Is it a good one? Is it going to be really strong? Yes or no, okay? Looks like I didn't like any of the breadcrumbs I dropped until I got to page 175. So I went back and looked at some of these and I was like, yeah, that kind of shows teamwork, but I bet I can do better. Once I got to 175, then I really started seeing stronger examples. And that might be the case for you, or maybe the very first one that you mark, you're going to like that quote and you're going to use that. So it just really depends. Now, how do you determine if it's strong evidence or not? And that's what this is all about, right? Collecting the strongest evidence for the job. It needs to very clearly, in some way, demonstrate this theme. And it needs to demonstrate it in a way that you could answer this question. How does this support the theme? Okay? It's important that you can describe it in your own words. Explain how this quote, whatever you decide to use, proves this statement here. Okay? So, it says you will have to revisit these pages and do a bit of rereading in order to help you decide where the 5 strongest pieces of evidence are. So if you were wondering how many do I need, well, you can see how many lines are in this table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm looking for you to find 5 strong quotes that prove whichever theme you determined up here. Okay? For each piece of evidence, you will write how that evidence proves the theme that you came up with, how it really applies to this text. Okay? So this right here is how you're going to determine that this is good evidence. If you can do this with this evidence and telling me how this proves this, then you know that it's good evidence. Okay? That's certainly how I'll be able to determine. So, here's my example. I want you to notice up here, it's always good to read these headings, okay, before you jump in. Read everything, okay? It says evidence quotes or paraphrases / context. You need to provide context for your quote. Because if you'll notice, the only part of mine that's actually a quote are these two words here. Confuse it. And if I just dropped those two words in here with no context around it, you would be very confused yourself, and you would confuse me, your teacher, when I go back to look at it. It wouldn't make any sense, okay? So here's what I do. This is how I provide context. When Harry and Ron find Hermione in the bathroom with a troll, Harry yells to Ron, confuse it. Okay, so I put context before it, and after it, I put more context. And then Harry finds a way to take the giant beast down while Ron does the distracting. And then together they save Hermione. Now the page number I put in parentheses at the end of whatever sentence contains the quote. I don't put it right behind the quote unless that's the end of that sentence. I put it at the end of the sentence that contains the quote, and that's one large sentence that contains a quote. So at the end, but before the period, in parentheses, I put just the numbers, the page number. I don't put page, the word page, or anything like that. Just 175 in parentheses. That is how you properly cite evidence right there for MLA, which is what we're interested in using. Okay, so I have my quote there. Now I need to explain how this supports the theme. So here I'm explaining how this proves this. How does this support the theme? Well, my theme is more can be accomplished through teamwork than through working alone. So I'm going to say, had Harry or Ron found the troll alone and tried to defeat it, they probably would have failed, which relates perfectly, okay? But I need to explain a little bit further. But you see how this fits in with my theme. More can be accomplished through teamwork than working alone. Okay, so this is how I'm relating this quote to that theme. But I'm going to give a little bit more information, I think. So why is this true? The troll is enormous. And so the plan of distracting it while another, I'll fix all my typos at the end, while another person attacks works well. I'm going to say even Hermione, who is extremely clever, and if you're familiar with the stories, she really is, could not have defeated the troll alone. And I'll bring it all back home here. Back to the idea, the big idea of teamwork. Teamwork, as demonstrated here, I'll say, is much more powerful than even the smartest wizard working alone. That was meant to be even, I think. Yeah, distracting. And of course, when I'm done typing a paragraph like this, even a tiny paragraph, I'm going to reread what I wrote to make sure that it makes sense. Had Ron or Harry or Ron found the troll alone and tried to defeat it, they probably would have failed. The troll is enormous, and so the plan of distracting it while another person attacks works well. Even Hermione, who's extremely clever, could not have defeated the troll alone. Teamwork, as demonstrated here, is much more powerful than even the smartest wizard working alone. Awesome. So there I'm explaining how this quote proves the theme that I felt was the strongest theme in this literary work that I'm reading. So I would just need to do the exact same thing 4 more times. I need 4 more quotes, and for each one I need to explain how that specific quote, that specific evidence proves my theme. And of course I'm giving context to all my quotes. So how would I do that? Well, 175, This is a big page range of 199 to 210. I felt that there was a lot going on in whatever was happening in that page range that could work. So my next step would be to go back and flip through those pages, and I'd probably find more than one quote in that page range if I felt that that whole thing would work. So that would be my next step, and I would just keep moving through these page numbers until I got all of the evidence that I needed to support my theme.